Hi, this is Stacy with Lily Bean Crafts by Stacy. Welcome back, and if it's your first time, thanks for stopping by. So today's video is a bonus video that I'm doing to go along with the Steampunk series. I'm kind of considering this a part 2 to the Steampunk vinyl that I got. I'm starting off with a 24-ounce travel tumbler that I got from the Steel Magnolia, and I spray painted it a matte black, and I let that dry, and now I'm going in with my glitter glue, and I'm going to go ahead and apply this mini chunky mix of glitters that I put together. It literally has so many colors that I don't even remember what's in there. So I'm going to go ahead and list in the description a bunch of the colors that I do remember putting in. But it is a mix of Peachy Olive glitters and Rae Creations glitters. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put this all over the tumbler. And I'm going to set it off to the side and let it dry. I did take parchment paper and I did pat down the entire glitter section here before I went on and sealed it, just to make sure that all of the pieces of the chunky were flattened to make doing the epoxy parts so much easier. And once this glitter is dry, I'm going to go ahead in with another coat of my glitter glue and let that sit for 3 hours, and then it will be ready for epoxy. And now that I'm going in with my first epoxy coat, I'm going to be applying 25 mLs of my fast set epoxy. I'm going to go ahead and let this spin for about 3 hours, and then I'm going to go right away in with another coat of 15 mLs of my fast set epoxy, let that spin for 4 hours, and then we will be ready to move on to the next step. Now that it's all epoxied and it's nice and smooth, I am going to go in and cut out a strip with this holographic vinyl that I got along with all the other Steampunks vinyls that I picked up. And I just decided to leave a small portion of the glitter on the top and then bring it to the bottom of the handle. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this out with my trimmer and use the hinge method to apply it to the tumbler.
Can't pass us by. This bond makes us stronger just to be together.
So I did push it up against the handle and started applying it that way, because once I get it all on, I want that center piece that's going to have the two ends together to be in the middle of the handle. So I just took an X-Acto knife and I trimmed it up a little bit so that I could lay this down, use my squeegee to actually apply it, and then I'll go and trim everything up with my X-Acto knife.
To keep it rolling, there's no time to be wasting. I'd just rather move it along.
And then I'm going to go right in with another 15 mLs of my fast set epoxy. I'm going to let this spin for 4 hours, let it get all nice and dry, and then move on to the next step. And you can see here in the video that I actually switched it up. I did not like how dark the tumbler was coming out. So I just decided to take a strip of the original vinyl that I had used with the last tumbler and did the exact same thing, the exact same method that I showed. That's why I just kept that in the video. And now I'm just going to go in and right away put this little thin strip of this cream colored vinyl that I got from Michael's. I'm going to put a strip on the top and the bottom just to get some separation. And then, because you know me and how I do my striping, I'm going to go in and put a thin stripe of this rose gold vinyl that I got from Amazon that I'll link in the descriptions, and I'll just put that right on top of that just to add a little bit more dimension to it. And then because I added that other vinyl piece on top, I'm going in and doing another 15 mLs of my fast set epoxy, making sure that this is kind of a thin coat because now I'm starting to get a lot of epoxy coats on there and there's still much more to do with the tumbler. Okay, so I decided to do a power wash over the pink just to make it a little bit more grungy. So I just took this painter's tape and I took it outside and I did the power wash method. I did not record this, but I will link one of my previous tutorials that I did do the power wash method to, and you can go ahead and take a look at that if it's a technique that you want to learn. And now that the paint is all dry, I just took off the painter's tape. And now I'm going to add some sparkle to the entire tumbler. So I'm going in with another 10 mLs of my fast set epoxy, and I'm going to be adding a little bit of this microfine glitter, which is called Grace from Rae Creations. It is like my one and only microfine that I work with when I'm going for like a white sparkly opal look. So I'm just putting it immediately into my epoxy, and I'm just going to go ahead, apply this, and make sure I get it coated really good because I want that sparkle to be everywhere. And then I'm going to go ahead and let this spin for 4 hours. One of the reasons why I decided to do this distressed look with the power wash is because I found these really cool images on Creative Fabrica. So I went ahead and I printed these out with my printable vinyl, really adding an extra dimension to the steampunk look, adding all these cogs and wheels and then a couple of old-fashioned pieces like the dress and the shoes. And I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of sporadically place this all around the bottom. Really was no rhyme or reason. I just kind of started and just moved things around. And you got to be really careful if you're going to try to move printable vinyl. It does rip really easily. So I actually did lose one of the pieces, but it still turned out really good. So I'm just going to kind of show you how I kind of place this around, cut it up, and then we'll move on. And the bottom of this tumbler is tapered, so you want to be really careful when you're applying any printable vinyl that there's no ridges because it has a tendency to lift, and you want to be really careful with that. While I'm applying this, I just wanted to mention that if you haven't done so yet, come check out my Lily Bean Crafters Community Facebook group. Just a little group for us crafters to talk about different things, and I can give you all of my discount codes, affiliate information, and new and interesting things that are going on. So yeah, if you haven't done that yet, come check me out. And once I have this all applied, I'm going to immediately go in and another 10 mLs of my fast set epoxy. I want to make sure that I get all of this sealed up because printable vinyl gets scratched up really easily, and I didn't want to take a chance on anything happening to it. So I'm going to apply that, wait 4 hours, and then start working on the glitter butt. Glitter butt is what I really wanted to show you. I had decided to do this in my last tutorial and I didn't videotape it, so I got a lot of great reaction from it, so I wanted to make sure that I did this again for you and showed you exactly how I did it. So I started off by taking off the bottom piece, and then I spray painted it with just a regular matte black spray paint, let that dry, and now I'm going in with my UV resin, and it's just some cheap stuff that I get from Amazon. I'll link it in the description, and I'm using, again, on this one, the Riflemans Creed, which is a great, like, blackish, dark silver, super sparkly glitter. I'm just going to do a really thin coat of it. Don't want to add too much because I'm going to be actually adding elements to it. and I want to make sure that I leave myself enough room so that I can still have a smooth UV resin coat to make it look, that's what gives it that real pretty look to it. So I'm just going to kind of show you here how I'm going to make that happen. So once I get all of this glitter in, I am going to put this under my UV lamp and let this dry for 2 hours. So once this is dry, I'm going to start playing with the little steampunk pieces that I got. I purchased these on Amazon, and I'll link them in the description. And I just kind of place them around to kind of get an idea of where I wanted them to be. And now I'm going in with my UV resin and just putting a thin layer on the bottom and placing the first layer of them on there where I want them to be. And they will be permanently attached. And once I have that all on there, I'm going to go ahead and I'll put that back under my UV lamp and let it dry for another 2 minutes. I actually had enough space to layer another piece on top of it. So I'm going to add one more small little piece in that little gap to fill it in. And then now I'm going to put a little bit of UV resin on the top of a couple of the pieces. Once I decide here, I was kind of like trying to figure out exactly which one I wanted to put on the top. It needed to be really thin. And once I have that, you're going to see me. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of UV resin on here, just on a couple of the pieces, place that on top of it, and then put it back under my lamp again for another 2 minutes. I'm going to start filling this in with the UV resin. You don't want to do a lot at a time. You don't want to fill it all the way up at once because it takes a long time for it to dry. So I like to do layers of it. So because it's a little bit thicker, I'm just going to put a little bit in there, kind of start filling it in, popping my bubbles, letting it dry for 2 minutes, and then going in and then going a little bit more on there. Now I'm doing the outer rim. I'm going to start covering more of the actual pieces. At this point, they're not all the way covered. I'm going to pop all the bubbles again, put it in for another 2 minutes, and then continue the process until I have it completely covered all the way to the top.
My love, can we drop this? Our time can't pass us by. This bond makes stronger just to be together. I'm getting better, you getting better, we getting better this time. I'm getting better, you getting better, we getting better this time. I'm getting better, you getting better, we getting better this time. I'm getting better, you getting better, we getting better.
Since this is my last layer, I want to make sure that I have complete coverage all the way around the edge. If there's anything that has any dips in it or anything like that, it just doesn't look good with that final coat. And because of the way that I did the different layers, when you look at it, it looks three-dimensional. It's really, really kind of cool. Then I'm going to go ahead and pop those bubbles and keep putting it under my UV lamp until it's completely dry. And now I'm going in with my final 15 mLs of my Flynn Sisters medium viscosity Artist Cure resin. This is the final coat. I'm going to let this spin for 8 to 10 hours and then it will be all done. And this is the final product. I really went through a lot of changes with this. I wasn't sure where I was going. I just really wanted to show you how I did that glitter butt, but I needed to make something beautiful up on the top, and I love how this turned out. There's so much dimension throughout this entire tumbler. There's sparkles and grunge and steampunk, and I love it. And I will see everybody again this week for this week's tutorial. Thank you.